Ross from Moshville Times here, and I've got Sam and James with me from Stone Angels. How are you guys doing?
Oh, very good. Thank you very much. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can't complain, Looking forward to the weekend.
Same. Yeah.
So, you guys have your new album coming out on the 22nd of March. What can you tell us about it?
So this is our second album. It's called Up in Smoke. The in case I presume you've seen the artwork of the burning house. The story behind that was actually one of tragedy, because back in 2019 in November, my home burnt down while I was inside, and so it kind of ended up shaping the album with quite a bit. And yeah, so it's kind of been a long process because obviously the pandemic happened pretty much straight after the house fire. So it it was almost a therapeutic process being able to kind of write about the experience into the album. So it was a silver lining to that smoke cloud, I guess, having the pandemic just afterwards. But it's definitely, yeah, it it's quite it's quite an I think resilience is the way that I would describe the album, in a lot of it is about kind of just overcoming hurdles that life can just chuck out at you from nowhere.
So it's been 8 years since the first album. When did work actually start on the second one then?
So it was actually back in 2019, the summer of we were into the studio to start recording the demos, and then it was just during that process, as I say, the my house decided to burn down. Thankfully, the majority of my guitar collection was in the studio, but I now also know the answer to the question is if your house is on fire, what guitar are you going to run in and save? Um, so, so yeah, it has been a while, and obviously things had to grind to a halt because of the pandemic. The world just shut its doors for a bit, which is why that's the main reason why it's been so long between the two albums.
And that means there was about 4 years between the first album coming out and starting work on the second album. Was there any particular reason for so long
Yeah.
before
Uh,
starting?
so For that, yeah, it's quite simple. We've had more drummers than Spinal Tap, and so it's a case of just kind of getting a rock solid rhythm section behind us. So Sam actually joined the band during the pandemic itself, and so together with him and Lawrence Loz, our drummer, they're our longest serving rhythm section. So it's great to finally have a rock solid heartbeat of the band in place, and that's because it's one thing to try and write songs, but if you don't have a band to kind of back it up with, it's kind of hard to kind of bring your ideas to life. So thankfully, by having the right team involved, you know that's why we decided to take our time with the album. We didn't want to rush it. We wanted to make sure that the members were all feeling a part of the album.
Obviously, we talked about the the song that comes from the house fire, but why choose to name the whole album after the event as well? Was there any particular reason for that?
Well, I guess it's the most impactful thing that happened during the recording process for us. But as I say, when we had actually started recording the album, this was before the house fire, and we didn't know what we were going to call the album. So it was Untitled Album number two. So I guess we just felt that this was a good excuse to kind of name the album after the experience because yeah, it it helped with the fact that we knew then what we wanted the artwork to look like as well. So it all came together quite well, and so it's a blessing out of the tragedy, I guess.
Mm. As well, the album's not going to be out on streaming services on the 22nd of March. What's the reasoning behind that?
So my day job is I run my own music PR business called White Lightning PR, and I specialize on Spotify, helping bands, reach their audience base. And the I've always thought that bands, especially in the rock scene, they're copying an outdated method of release strategies, which is copying the physical release, so for CDs or vinyls, which is two singles and then releasing the whole album. We're now kind of in the days that we're Spotify reporting over 120,000 songs being uploaded every day. So it's a lot of competition, and it's a lot of music coming out. So bands that automatically put the whole album out in one go, that music becomes old very quickly,
Mm.
and they can't really use that to help grow their fan base. So we're basically trying, as far as I'm aware, a new approach, which is we're trying to service both the physical and the streaming side. So on the 22nd of March, the physical version of the album, so CD and vinyl, will be able to be purchased directly from our web store as well as from gigs. But then for those who want to just listen to us on Spotify, we'll be releasing each single about 2 months apart from each from one another, because that basically will allow us to have the gift of time to help kind of really find an audience, hopefully on Spotify as well as the other streaming platforms. But then also means that those who want to buy the record straight away, they don't have to wait a year for the whole album to come out.
And how have people taken to that news?
Really? Oh yeah, really good. Because you know we've actually had quite a few pre-orders already for the album, which is a fantastic sign. But also, again, our Spotify profile, for example, is the busiest it's ever been. The amount of followers that we're gaining from it all, because this is what Daniel Ek, from the CEO of Spotify, has said, that to survive on that platform, you need to have a steady flow of music. So that's what we're trying to kind of emulate. And as an independent, unsigned band, we don't have the pressure of a label breathing down our neck saying we want the money back straight away, kind of thing. So we have that flexibility, and it would, given what I do for a living, it would be a shame to not kind of really trial this method out. Um, but yeah, so it's going well. It's going because, again, it's a great way to keep advertising us for the best part of a year, basically.
And the album you recorded that with Mike Krompus, what was that like?
Oh, it was phenomenal because he's obviously a multi-platinum producer. He's definitely a couple of levels above where I see myself personally as a musician. So it was wonderful to actually kind of be like a parasite, kind of latching onto him and learning his kind of tricks of the trade, and just kind of his little influences that he put onto the record. Because, as I say, we'd already pretty much cut all the demos before we met Mike, but then he came in, and it was just slight nip and tucks here that he suggested, uh, and then also his studio. Uh, just bass culture up in Barnsley was just phenomenal. Like the drum sound that you can achieve in that place, it's like Moby Dick, eat your heart out. And I think that his influence is very apparent on the record, and he's made us sound like a stadium band.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't actually record on the album because I joined after the pandemic and everything. But it was really interesting being able to coming back to it and learning both the album's worth of materials, because I've had to sort of enter the band at this point where all of this material is written. So it's really helped me learn by ear on bass and stuff. So yeah, generally being involved in the actual process of the production and everything and seeing how this album's come out has been great.
The band are based in Brighton, which, is such a musical town. What's the actual rock and metal scene like there?
Oh, fantastic.
Pretty good.
So obviously the big rock band from the scene at the moment is Royal Blood, but then you also got some other great rock bands like Tiger Cub. You got Black Honey as well. And he's got everything from rock right through to the heaviest death metal, and got bands like All Hail Dog and stuff like that on the far end of the scale. But then the thing that attracted me to Brighton, because I came down here for university originally, is that any day of the week you're spoilt for choice for live music. You can walk down any of the main streets, and every bar venue will have some kind of live music going on, and it's just in of its own, it's really inspiring, because if you just come go randomly see a blue slide guitarist with a stomp box and stuff like that, and just seeing what they can create and get like the whole bar dancing is fantastic. And then you can go to see a gypsy jazz trio next door. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm Brighton born and bred, so I love the variety that's here. Like, there's so many great little small punk acts and everything, from open mic nights to, like James said, to up to heavy metal and stuff. So anything you want, you can get around here. And yeah, it's great. And we're also playing a show tomorrow in our. It'll be the first hometown show of the year, so looking forward to getting back to playing in the hometown. So.
So you've played with some amazing names over the years. What's been the highlight?
So obviously, like one of the big highlights was Skindred on their Big Things tour in 2018. But a personal one for me, it was a smaller gig, but AC/DC are my favorite band of all time. So we a couple of years ago got to play with Dave Evans, the original singer. So I was like a pig in my own shit in that night. Like I was this close to AC/DC from my point of view. I absolutely love that. And don't get me wrong, like so we play some great gigs. So like last year we got to play with Hot Milk as well, and they've just gone on tour with Foo Fighters. So again, I feel like I'm three people away from Dave Grohl, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Hot Milk, and they put on a great show, and yeah,
Yeah,
they like
Hot Milk
deserve
and
all the
on the same night.
success.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So what are the venues that you've yet to play that you'd like to?
Oof, there's still quite a long list. So I definitely would love to do kind of like a grassroots tour of the iconic places in the UK, like KK Steel Mill, Bannerman's, the Cabin Club. There's so many the Underworld Camden would be a big one for me because I spent a lot of my teenage days in Camden, so so to play in there would be pretty cool. And then obviously, if AC/DC called up and say, "Hey, we need an opening band for our London dates," I'll be there.
I think Roundhouse and Alexander Palace for me, two are big venues for me that I would love to play.
Well, yeah, that'd be pretty epic. The Roundhouse is a very cool place.
Yeah, I really like the Roundhouse.
And other than releasing the album and this year, what's the plans for the rest of 2024?
So we are in the works of hopefully getting a small run of dates across the UK, hopefully around about May time. Same happening in the same month we're playing Station 18 Festival, which we're looking forward to because there's some really cool bands on the same day as us. So we've got South of Salem, Skinny Knowledge, The Now, as well as a few other people on there as well, like all great bands. So I'm personally I'm quite excited to play with South of Salem because I've been a big fan of them since their debut. And so yeah, I'm friends with Cody, so it's nice to finally get to share the stage with him. But yeah, we've also got a couple of other hopefully festival dates in the work. We can't quite reveal what they are just yet, but we're hoping that we're going to be the busiest the band has ever been this year in terms of playing gigs all up and down the country. We're waiting to hear back from a few potential tour opportunities as well, but it's what it's like. It's kind of nothing's confirmed until it's confirmed.
Yeah, plus supporting AC/DC, in a few months' time you've got that to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
And it saves selling a kidney for rather than paying for a ticket.
Oh yeah, it'd be the cheaper way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, thank you very much for your time, guys. I'll hopefully see you out in the road.
yeah,
You're
look
right.
forward to it.